Okay, guys, welcome back for part two with Melissa Horne in sunny Florida. And Melissa, I am super jealous because last night in New Jersey, it went down into the 30s for the first time already.
Oh, I was talking to my mom this morning. She's in Flemington, and she's like, "It's 28 degrees right now." Like, haha. And then I won't do it now, but it's bright and sunny here today.
Yeah, well, I'll be down. You're not your way, but I'll be down on the West Coast in about 12 or 13 days. So I'll wave as I'm flying over.
Yes, wave to us. You're
Yeah,
not too far. One of the great things about Florida is that there's so much for like a day staycay. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
there's so much. I haven't been to Disney since I was a little kid because I'm from New York, and
Oh, wow.
like I went the first year we came, and it was like going to the gates of hell. It was a nightmare. Get on a ride. There were so many people, and then one of the baseball moms taught me a trick on
Uh-huh.
what you do with annual passes to find out when it's not busy. So
Yeah.
I got an annual pass just in September. I've been there 4 times.
Oh, wow.
And and I've gotten on every ride, and it's truly now the most magical place on earth again.
Yeah, we were super spoiled because I think I told you we have the place right outside of Disney in Kissimmee, and we were so spoiled the last time we went because my sister-in-law got these Club 33 passes, and we were able to go to basically like the front of every line, and it was incredible. So
It makes a huge difference.
yeah,
That first year, I think we got on 4 rides in like 8 hours.
wow,
It was awful. The kids were miserable. There were so many people. We spent like $600 for the day.
yeah,
Like, I'm never doing this again.
yeah, it's brutal.
But
All
there's
right, so
in
we
things.
left off on talking about the single mom, and that's how we left off part one. So, what I'd love to do is jump back into that, right? So, let's talk to the single moms out there and the single parents in general, single dads, because I personally can't imagine not having any assistance with my 6-year-old son. So, talk to me about that, and let's really give some folks some inspiration and talk to us about how you got through that.
Absolutely. So, I was older when I got pregnant. I was 29, so there really was no excuse to, be like I was working. I was responsible for what responsibility was to me at that time. But there was no choice for me other than, okay, well, I'm going to be a mom, and I really can't be an effective mom and manage a nightclub at the same
That's true. That won't really work.
but I tried. So I stayed at the comedy club until, gosh, maybe 2 days before I gave birth. I was
Wow.
waiting tables. I took more managing shifts, and they're all cabaret style clubs in Manhattan. So I'd be holding to my belly and my tray, trying to like squeeze through the aisles. And then I
That's
had,
funny.
it was really funny. It was. And people have no pity for the pregnant women in New York.
Yeah.
You don't get subway seats. You don't get somebody's head out of the way when you come in with a tray of beer, nothing. So that I didn't know what I was going to do. I thought that at that time, oh, I'll just stay in the club. I work nights. I'll be with the baby during the day. This will be,
Yeah.
yeah. So, but in the middle of my pregnancy, I realized that his dad was not going to do the right thing. I always knew that. I mean, I guess, and there's different reasons why people become single parents,
For sure.
and mine was, well, I kind of always knew that that's what was going to happen. I knew part of my decision was, is this something I want to do alone? Because his dad, everybody knows somebody like him. He's the neighborhood kid who doesn't leave the neighborhood and couch surfes and surfs, and just wasn't going to do. And he had the opportunity to get a job and not have me take care of him anymore because I have to take care of baby.
Of course.
And then keep it moving. Sorry.
It's all good.
Camera. So anyway, that didn't happen. And the only way to get rid of him, this is the fun part of my story, was to move out of the apartment I was living in because he wouldn't leave, which meant being pregnant on my mother's couch, 29 years old, for the last couple of months of my pregnancy, and then moving in with my dad.
Wow.
Yeah. So, needless to say, Nicholas was born, and I had a very short time to get it together, and I did. So I moved to Staten Island, and I stayed. It was easier to get to Manhattan. Believe it or not, it was easier to get to Manhattan from Staten Island from where my dad lived, and that's where I was still working. Nicholas, if I didn't have a babysitter, would be part of the comedy club, and
Wow.
comedians would push him in his stroller in the green room, or I had friends that lived in the city that would watch him until, because at the babysitter, to pay for a babysitter,
Oh yeah.
was like my whole shift. Like, why? Like, why
Yeah.
work? And at that point, I decided, like, I need to do something else because I wasn't sleeping at all. That was the other thing I did.
Yeah.
Like, oh, wait, I need to sleep. Like, I work at night and he sleeps at night and he's up during the day and I
Yeah.
got mom during the day. And I made myself really sick. And that's what ultimately made me say, I got to go back to school.
Wow.
I never worked in an office.
Mm-hmm.
My skills at that point were actually sales and marketing, and I never realized it, but that was it. Like, I was a marketer, I was a salesperson, I was an influencer, but I needed to figure out I had those skills because I didn't know at the time.
Self-discovery.
Yep. And then put them into something else. So I applied for the College of Staten Island. And they had a daycare. It was only $2 an hour. And
That's incredible.
That's what made me choose that school, because I was able to get the FAFSA and, the student aid. And I was able to get the daycare for $2 an hour. And I was able to keep my shifts on the weekends, and my mom would help me out and watch the baby on a Saturday night. Believe me, I got a lot of crap for that because it was a Saturday night and I took her Saturday night.
Yeah.
Out partying. I was working. But I had a strict schedule. Like, there was no party. It was, you need to go to work, finish your shift, and come here and get your baby and figure it out. And I did, but everybody else was out going partying after our shift. I'm like, I gotta go.
You got it. So what I hear is you made it work. Like, come hell or high water, you found a way to make it work. And especially now, like, so many people have excuses for why they can't start the business or why they can't start the new journey or the new career or make the move. Like, you went from New York to Florida, right? There's no excuse anymore. I mean, yeah, people go through tough times, but at the same token, like, you have all the resources available. You have podcasts, you have YouTubes, you have grants, you have anything like that really to figure it out. So,
and they're out there, and I'll tell you this, and I'm sure every single parent has this in their heart. My son saved my life. I had no life before him. I wasn't thinking about going back to college. I wasn't thinking about what comes next. But everything that came next after he was born made me better. First, it was college, and then it was getting my real estate license, and then it was, buying my first house, and all along the way, he was the biggest why without knowing he was my why. Like, how can I make him a good human being and have never feel like he's without, even when we were without. Like, he can't feel it. So if it means that I have to be without, that's fine. If it means that, whatever it is I had to do, work extra shifts, fill out more college scholarship forms, do odd jobs to make sure that the bills were paid so that we could stay in a decent neighborhood and have, that he wouldn't have to see how hard it was, right? So when I became a real estate agent, I met a man. I had my second son. I was not a single mom for. And what a difference. And Nick, the older one, Timmy adopted him at when he was 16. So Timmy,
wow, that's awesome.
It's amazing. And I'm the only one with the Horne name now. So everybody else is a Prestano. I'm the man out. But Nick made me better. His life made my life. Everything I've done from the last 18 years, from when he was born until now, is more than I've ever done in all the 30 years before him. And I had a professor say that to me once when I was in school. And when he found out I was a single mom, he was so mad at the class or something. And he was one of those professors that never gave out A's. And they're like, dude, I'm not leaving this class without an A. So whatever it is I have to do, you have to let me know. And I guess I got like a C on a paper. It was like my first C, and I had a heart attack.
You're freaking out. Yeah.
I was like, what do I have to do? I'm going to write it over. I'm going to do this. And he gave me he gave me ridiculous assignments, and I did them. And he gave me an A. When I handed them in, he like went at the class, because at that time he knew my story. And he was like, you know what? The only people that come in my classroom that do anything are single moms and cops. What's wrong with you all? And then that's when I realized, okay, well, I guess that I do. That drive and that's what it is. The drive is coming from the love for my child and to make him better.
Yeah.
And today, this, I'm sorry if I'm talking too much.
No, go for it.
Today, actually, on the deal that I'm working on with your friends, they're getting a new roof for the property, and it's an insurance property, and the listing, it's an insurance roof, and the listing agent wanted to get additional quotes because she's having a problem getting that first roofer out there. My son, now at 18 years old, is a PM for a major roofing company
that's incredible.
When he was 18. But I've never talked to the sales manager there. So I was like, oh, I got a roof. I'm going to give it to Nick, you know?
Yeah, of course.
So Nick gave me his sales manager's job, and I texted him. His name's Carlos. And I just was like, hey, I'm Nick Prestano's mom. I'm a local realtor. I have a roof for you. Give me a call so I can get you in there to bid on the job. And he called me like immediately. He's like, you're Nick's mom? And I was like, yeah. He goes, he's the unicorn. He's 43 years old, and I've worked with men from 18 to 60, and they, some of them work out and some of them don't. Your boy walks with a purpose. He looks people in the eye. He knows how to talk to clients. He knows how to talk to the other guys on the job, and he makes them move. He goes, I've never worked with somebody with as much work ethic. He is going to be some big giant builder with his name on billboards. I've never met anyone like your son. And then he said, and he goes, I don't know what you did to that kid, but there aren't any more like him.
That's got to feel so good. Yeah.
Yes.
That's got to feel so good.
And that was like perfect. That was all the mom guilt I had all those years, just in that one conversation got wiped away.
Yeah. Just take it off and just put it away. That's, that's awesome. That is awesome. All right. Another thing I want to talk about, and thank you so much for being open and honest about that, because I know it's going to help a lot of people. I want to talk a little bit more about the self-discipline muscle. So we talked on the first episode about the 30 contacts a day. And I really hope that a lot of people understand, like, that is not a small feat. That is an incredible commitment to not only doing what you say that you're going to do, but also to yourself, right? Because a lot of people start off on journeys or challenges. I know a lot of people that do 75 hard, and they get to like maybe day 7, and then they're like, all right, get me out of here. Yeah. So what did it take for you to become the person that you are today in terms of the discipline that you have within your business? So is it the drive? Is it what happened when you were younger? Is it the single mom? What is it, and how do you maintain that?
I don't know what it is. And it was very long in coming. None of the journey was easy. I always kind of just did what I wanted to do. And then I guess some of it is always inherent, right? Like if whether it's good or bad, or, a goal that's going to move you ahead, or a goal that's just going to self-satisfy, once you decide what that goal is, you're doing it anyway. Like you might not even know it. Like you're going for it, and you're going to do it for whatever reason. And it was focusing on what it was I really wanted. And the first part of the journey was, I need to get up before 7:30 a.m.
Yes. Yeah. Everybody needs to listen to that.
So, I worked nights almost all my life. So that morning my body was not even on that schedule, like physically. So, and I didn't like it, and I fought it. I fought it really hard. But Nick, again, when he was born, like, that wasn't an option anymore. and I can't say there are more days than I'd like to even admit to that there was a Blue's Clues loop and I was half awake, and like every 15 minutes for each episode, I'd close my eyes and get up and do something, right? And that was going on for a while. But when I got into real estate, and even then, I was hired. I told you I was hired as a marketing director, a buyer's agent. So I didn't have to be in the office until 9:30.
Mm-hmm.
And believe me, I didn't get into the office until 9:35, like all the time. And I was always late, and I was always like, man, I just got to do my marketing, you know, but I wasn't late for appointments or things like that were client facing. But I didn't realize that I was disappointing Vinny. I was disappointing myself. I was still getting everything done, but I didn't even notice that I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do. And Vinny got on my ass all the time about it. Why don't you get here at 8:30? And I always had an excuse that I believed was the truth. Oh, well, Nick doesn't get on the bus until this time. And then I have to go do my hair. And then I have to go do this. And I check my emails before I leave the house. And, you know, and it's all
just a story. Yeah, it's a story.
It's a story because you could change your schedule anyway. So this last year, it had to be only this last year. I always got into, by the time I got more successful, like here in Florida, like I got to the office at 9. I was in the office at 9:15, but I dilly-dally till 10, and, you know, the little calls here, and I played with files, and then I did that. So ADD is real. Like,
trust me, you're
So if there's a squirrel to chase, I'm out. Like,
yes,
that's really hard. But Chatty's first challenge. So I've been with Chatty a year. His first, and that's been like, I beat myself up over it. Like, why can't I get up at 6 like everybody else? Why can't I do
5
this?
5 a.m. club? Yeah.
And I just could never do it. And slowly but surely, I started waking up earlier. And now I'm getting up without an alarm at 5:30. Like there's so much you can do of priming without even physically getting up yet. Like I get up and I don't hate the day. How I started doing it was as soon as I opened my eyes, I would be like, things I'm grateful for. Like I just started thinking of that. I'm like, what could make me want to stay awake? And what would make me want to stay asleep was thinking about all the things that I had to do that day that I didn't want to do or I was procrastinating on. So I was like, well, if I stop thinking about those things and I start thinking about something that makes me happy, maybe that'll make a change. And your mind, which is a magical place, good or bad, whichever way you want to make it.
Exactly.
I didn't have to think about thinking about what I would want to be grateful of. I would open my eyes, and I still do. I open my eyes and be like, oh, I have Rocco to hug. Oh, okay. I'm going to, I love my bed. I love my journal, like stupid stuff. But and then I found this app called Fabulous, which I love. And it's it has an alarm in it. So that gives you, and there's so many things that are going in my mind. I can't get it out fast enough. Chatty teaches to anchor, right? Like clap or to smile or something. Yeah. And I didn't realize that that's kind of what I was doing with this grateful thing. So the app goes off in the morning, and then the first routine or thing that pops up is today's going to be a great day. And it's this beautiful, like animated picture of a lady smiling. And I was
I'll have to check this out. That's awesome.
Yeah. And that made me feel really good too. So then I started building the routines for in the morning. So I do that, like I say what I'm grateful for. I look at my pretty lady and I smile, and then and then I do a 10-minute meditation. Visioning is very hard. Was very hard for me to do. And I guess on some level it kind of is. But what I know now, it's because what I want isn't detailed enough. And so you can't see it. Like one of the things on my vision is that I want a riverfront house with big giant windows and a dock and a boat. And I couldn't picture the house. Like I've sold a couple of them. So I would picture this one house that I really liked that I sold, but I hadn't been in it for so long. So I just made appointments to a whole bunch of river houses.
That's the way to do it. That's the way to do it.
And that way it was fresh in my head. And then after that, it wasn't so hard to see the river house anymore. So I found a 10-minute YouTube manifestation meditation, and I pick one of those things for my vision and I try to think about that. So all that's before I even get out of bed. So I'm not out of bed until 5:45, 5:50. And then sometimes I'll take the fat dog for a walk in the morning before everyone wakes up. And sometimes I'll take him for a walk after Donnie gets on the bus. But there's this list of the things I do in the morning now. I don't look at my emails. I don't look at social media. I don't let my husband get all kooky because he's a cuckoo bird in the morning. He's like one of those people that always woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning. And if you don't plan by 6, he's mad at you. So he's not allowed to talk to me in the morning. You need to go in your room and go do what you do with your coffee and your phone, and leave me in here with my journal and my goofy music that nobody likes. and I'm out. I'm in the car. I'm on my role play at 7:30, and then I'm in the car by 8, and I'm in the office by 8:30.
Yeah, that's a miraculous change from where you actually started from. And I think that the powerful message behind this is like everybody needs to find what's going to work for them. Like not everything is going to be the same routine for everyone, right? Like the 5 a.m., the cold shower, the affirmations, like you just have to find what works for you. And something I started doing more and more of is like the active manifestation and like going to the park and like finishing a run and then sitting there. There's this one building that overlooks the park, and it's probably about 100 units, right? So what I did recently was I went there on a really sunny day and I had my headphones on and I did some deep breathing work. And then I'm looking at the building and I'm just imagining what it feels like to get the 100 rent checks coming in from that building every month. And like, for me, that's something I struggled with, is like expanding my mind to like bigger and bigger stuff. But like the more that you work on it, the deeper you can go with all this. So
I love that idea.
Oh, like for you, I would go and find one of those properties and or take a boat out or something and just manifest and do some deep breathing, and then you're going to like embody that property, and the property's eventually going to show up. And my wife and I did this with a property that we own, a piece of land that we don't share all the time, but one day there will be something really nice on it, and we can see like what it's going to look like already. I know I can see it. I'm sure she can see it also. But you have to have stuff like that because number one, like life's too damn short. And number two, if you don't have like a big goal that you're going after, what I found, and people talk about this all the time, is you hit little small goals and then you have nothing else behind that. And that's where people get in trouble. That's where you stop and then you get stuck or you get depressed. You have to have something behind the big goal or even behind the little goal.
Yeah. And you can't get mad at yourself while you're figuring out what that morning looks
exactly.
Because I would like with my dog, right? If I didn't take him for a walk before everybody woke up, and then I had to take him for a walk when I took Donnie to the bus stop, I would be disappointed in myself because I was either, and what I realized, I wasn't missing anything. Like the things that are non-negotiable, I know now, which is my meditation, my journal, and the walk itself. So all the other little things are wish lists, and it's nice if I get to them, but I don't have to get to them. And I've still primed my mind for the day, and I still feel good. And why am I taking away my happiness over walking a dog at a different time if I'm still getting to the office?
Yeah, you can't let it rob your joy. As long as you're doing your routine, whatever's going to work for you, then you're doing your job, which is lead generation. Like you won the day. You beat probably 90% of the other real estate agents.
I totally skipped that whole part. So yeah, if I wasn't able to control my morning before I got into the office, I wouldn't have been able to complete that challenge. Typically, if you look at my phone on any given day, I probably do talk to 15 people.
Mm-hmm.
Just 15 people that are looking to buy or sell real estate or follow up. Maybe not even, I'm not even counting like follow up, like other professionals, but people that want to know about a house or want to make an appointment or something, right? So I'm pretty blessed to have that already happening in my business.
Yeah, it's a strong amount of activity. Absolutely.
So once I realized that, because Chatty kept asking like, well, how many people do you talk to a day? And I'm like, a lot. He's like, well, you don't track it. And I was like, it's so hard. So what I started doing was looking at my phone. Who did I talk to today? Like at the end of the day. And I still didn't get to the, putting the check marks down or anything like that.
Yeah.
And then I started just doing just a
little
chicken
checks.
Yeah, just little.
Yeah, I have this little clicker.
I need to get one of those.
These clickers are awesome.
I need to get one of those because I just put it on the index cards, and that would be so much easier for me. And I'm trying to now. The challenge is that I have the actual tickers to actually put it in Sisu.
Yes.
So that way, or Chatty even has a spreadsheet. Just put it someplace that I don't have these papers on my desk of everybody that I called. How many people I called every day. But getting to that point that you're growing, I guess, and tracking is what allows you to see where you're growing to. It's like you can't stop. All right, I made a commitment and it's a long time. Like on a single,
I agree. Yeah,
it's a long time. Sometimes you have to take a break, or sometimes I had to go to the end of the day and pick up calls at that time. And I think the other thing that made it happen, I don't know if doable is the right word, but made it happen was that I knew who I was calling. Again, ADD is real for me. So if I was trying to go from FSBOs to expireds to follow up once an hour, I would lose 30, 45 minutes in between each switch.
Yeah, your brain's too all over the place. Yeah. I have the same situation. Yeah.
So I found that, okay, well, today I'm going to work on past clients and database and then bang out those calls. And if I made it through the list and I didn't get to 30, then I would pick something else or I'd get creative. FSBOs, because I started this journey only in the last year with FSBOs and expireds and canceled, I have the 2 years behind I got when I signed up for Vulcan. So if I wouldn't run out of either of those, I could just old ones, We're realtors. We have access to all sorts of data lists on non-owner occupied. I can farm a neighborhood. So but right now I'm concentrating on mostly FSBOs database, and I have a lot of PPC. I want to move out of the PPC. I just hired an ISA for that, so that I can start doing non-owner occupieds. I think that I don't love expireds. I'll tell you, I'll be the first to tell you, like, of the painful phone calls for me, expireds is it.
Yeah.
And, but
it's a personality trait. Yeah. Do whatever works for you.
So it's fun. Once you realize that it's not painful to get on the phone, I still shake through the first 2 calls and I still stumble. I'm a dope on the first call. Like I instantly forget the scripts or I forget to ask like something pivotal about like motivation or whatever. But I have I have a really great ability to just laugh at my own mess up, and people warm up to that. So I'm like, dude, I'm just calling you because I want to help you.
and one also, like, people need to realize, and I tell people this all the time that I coach and in our brokerage, right? You're just playing a game. Like the game is make some contacts, get some appointments, and then help some people, sell some houses, make some money, then buy some property. Like it's just a game. There's a sequence to the game. And I think that where a lot of people go wrong is they don't track. So they don't know how many people they're talking to. Like I would say that's probably one of the first things I do when I'm analyzing somebody's business, especially when they're complaining that real estate sucks. The question I love to ask is, how many humans are you talking to on a daily basis or a weekly basis? And when that answer is like, maybe 15 for the week, I'm like, stop it right there. Like you don't even have a chance of success if you're only talking to 2.5 or 3 people a day.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
One of the things. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I don't remember where I heard it, but it's always stuck in my head. Average agents or just agents that have a license talk to 5 people a day. People that produce average talk to 15 people a day. Top producers talk to 25 or plus people a day. And I'm like, well, I am a top producer. I will remain a top producer. And if that means if that's going to go away, I better step it up every single day. So,
But here's the other part of that is right now in this market, even outstanding activity is still going to only get you normal results.
yeah,
So that's why, like, I love what you said about the ISA. And I think what's the making of starting to build out a team or at least a couple other people to help support is the powers are in the numbers. And that's how you build a big business and a big company. Because even when you're not there, somebody else is doing the activity. So like to have exceptional results, yeah, you probably need the 25 or 30 just to break above normal.
yes. Yeah. And one person I can't possibly get through. I have 12,000 numbers I've collected at this point.
Wow. Yeah,
You
it's a
know,
lot.
it needs to be, yes, I need to delegate. And the best use of my time is not calling back the PPC at this time.
Of course. Of course. All right.
To be called.
Let's talk about the Florida market a little bit. I'm trying to get some more people that are sprinkled in different parts of the country on the call, just as like an added resource to our listeners, just so everybody knows what's going on at a local level. So talk to me about the Florida market. How has it changed from, the craze of 2020, 2021, and probably the beginning of 2022? But what are you feeling now?
So it's really interesting, and it's hard to really pinpoint. And I think most agents in my marketplace certainly are feeling this way. And a lot of the masterminds that I'm in with other agents nationally, I hear variations of this. So July 2022 was pivotal for, the interest rates went up a whole point that month. I can speak from my personal business because I am heavy in PPC. It just stopped. It completely, like a dead halt. Up until July of 2022, that first half of the year, I did 10 million. From July 2022 to December, I did 3 million.
Wow. Yeah.
So it was huge. And that was just the first round of the shock wave because we only went up to 5.5 first. And then by September, we were in about 6. And then it wasn't until January, we kind of stayed at that 6.5 for a while, right? But once I found people got used to it, the phone started ringing again, and there was a lot more activity starting in February 2023. And then through the spring, it was pretty strong. Inventory has nearly doubled.
Wow.
In the heat of the market for us, back in that June, July 2022, there were only like 700 single family homes on the market at that time in my MLS.
Mm-hmm.
By February, when everything started moving again, it was at like 1,800. So
wow, that's a big jump.
It's a big jump. And today there's like close to 4,000.
Woo!
There's a lot more inventory coming up, but it doesn't feel like a lot because it's still less than what even the demand has been with the affordability being shocked so hard. People also have sticker shock in my area. So Central Florida has always been known for very affordable prices. My county, the average price point, if you look at it countywide, is still like 400,000. But I think it's really you can get new construction at 380,000 in Palm Bay, but you can't touch a house, mid county for under like 6. So, and of course, that's where people from the Northeast and California and our feeder markets are looking for. So the first time buyer market is struck the hardest, especially
for sure,
being so high. So the builders right now, that's the best opportunity for buyers because they have the capability of offering closing costs and lower interest rates and a lot of incentives like that. Buyers are much more picky. I see the difference in how my PPC performs and my phone rings for the buyer side of everything, because my phone stopped ringing at 6.5%, like completely, like crickets.
Wow, yeah,
6.5. That was the sweet spot. And there was for a couple months that we went between like 6.5 and 7.2 or something like that. And it would happen. Like as soon as it went to 6.5, people were like, okay, I'm ready. Get me in contract right now. And then it went over that. And then everyone's like, I'm waiting. For sellers, everybody, what I'm finding is that a lot of sellers and a lot of agents are pricing too high.
Mm-hmm.
As an agent, I can say it's a really hard conversation to have. And sometimes I'm guilty of it too. You can't overcome it. Like they have to see for themselves. Like, because the neighbor did do it. The neighbor did list it at, 730, and there's not another comp close to that at this
And you
point.
might get 6. Yeah.
You might get 6. But the differential in the comps are so much right now. Like you can look, I'm going on a listing appointment today. Then that's where I came up with the 730. He bought the house June 2022 for 700,000. He wants to list it for 730. And there is not a comp within 2.5 miles that supports over like 625.
I had a feeling this was coming. I had a feeling this was coming.
Yeah, and then even the insurance rates are so high right now. It's so difficult to get premiums for what the insurance companies want. So that's another huge thing with waterfront properties specifically. They're like the whole county got a new roof in 2019 from insurance claims. So that's like another big thing. And then the last 2 hurricanes, Ian and Nicole, have really, put a whirlwind and a heavy push on insurance. So all of these things are like a perfect storm, but people are still moving to Florida.
Yeah.
So I can't figure out a method to this madness. There are some houses in a good neighborhood, priced right with good condition, that are still seeing multiple offers. They're not going over ask, but they'll still see multiple offers. But you'll have a great house that's fully done in a neighborhood that's not so great, and it'll sit there for 60 days.
Yeah, what I'm hearing is opportunity is coming, and then I think we're going to pivot to this next. But to go from the 700 to like 4,000, so we aren't experiencing that in New Jersey at all. So we still have like no inventory. It's still like a crisis here with the inventory, but we are feeling that some parts are starting to soften, and you're not getting the 8 or 15 offers. You might get 1, 2, or 3. But just from that alone, there's going to be a lot of distressed property situations and a lot of wealth that's going to be created in the next couple of years.
I hope that it creates wealth for everybody. I think that, well, tell me a little bit more about that. Like, do you think that what I'm finding is a lot of people are not so happy with the houses they bought fast and furiously?
Yeah, we had a lot of people that we've talked to that were like the COVID buyers that didn't really understand the neighborhood they were buying in or didn't do enough due diligence. So I think you're going to have a lot of that. Also, the people that are getting called back to work that just can't be 100% remote, if they move to Melbourne because they thought they could still have their New York job, and now they're being told be back in 3 months or you don't have a job. But the issue is for the people that didn't put the big down payments down. Like, let's say if they put 5% down or they put 10% down, in the situation that you described with the 720 or 730, that might be worth 630. If they don't have money in the bank, how are they going to close? So I think that there's definitely going to be a lot more delinquencies. I think there's also going to be a lot more fire sales, because if you have to sell a property, but you cannot get the contract in 60 days, like in my market, if somebody had to sell and they have to be somewhere in 60 days, if we price it right, they're gone. And with that much inventory, what starts to happen is you can't even promise that in some situations because they might be stuck. And if they can't carry the new place they have to move to and float the other one, people are going to be in some pain. But so we'll see.
That's exactly where I was thinking. Like, the people that have to sell are the ones that are going to be in trouble. The people that purchase and have like this 2.5% interest rate and they can't possibly move up, like they're really going to be stuck. But there are still so many people that are older that, divorce, death, all those things that are happening that people have to move. Those are the people that are listing right now. But what I find interesting is that there's so many people that want to sell right now, but will not come to reality on what's happening with pricing.
Yeah.
That conversation is so difficult to have. Like we all have our variation of, price high, come down later. But I'm finding it really, really hard to not seem combative. And I'm not that like, I don't come off that way anyway. I'm like, we can't price $100,000 over what market value is in the hopes that the one person is going to want to buy your house.
But you know what though? That's the next wave of expired listings. So I remember in 2017, 18, and 19, when there were a ton of expires, let's say if Johnny, who hasn't had a sale in 4 or 5 months, Johnny goes out on that same appointment, he tells them, yeah, absolutely, because he just wants his sign in the ground. Next thing you know, it doesn't sell. Now Melissa's coming behind him to get an expired listing. Like the expired listings that you guys are going to see with that much inventory that's sitting, I mean, it makes me want to get my Florida license and drop an agent off in your office and just go insane.
Well, we're going to have to take this to a private conversation.
Yeah, we're going to, because it's going to be like opportunity all over the place. It's going to be insane.
I think so.
I think that the New Yorkers and the New Jerseyans that can have the tough, direct conversations with the sellers, that's who's going to win in that new market. So,
what do you think? Well, I have a question for you for advice. Like, what do you think is the best way to overcome that objection from pricing so high in such a changing market?
I think that you have to go back to the motivation. I think that you also have to really rely on your experience, right? So I'll give you an example. I went out on a listing for our team, and there were 2 other agents that came in with highly discounted commissions or discounted offerings, right? But not a lot of promise of what they were going to do. And I think that you have to stand firm with your track record and your experience, and you want to have the direct conversation and you want to tell them the truth. And I think that's who's going to win, especially if you can share examples of, well, Mrs. Jones, look at 123 Banana Street that's been on the market for 90 days. How are you going to feel if that's you? So I would have real life examples of the neighbors that are not selling and see if they're okay with that, because chances are they are not. All right, Melissa, I want to pivot, and then we're going to go to 2 final questions for you.
Okay.
So what I would love, because I want to have something you can go back to and listen, because you said that you're going to break out of your investor shell and you're going to go on the warpath this year. So what does Melissa 2.0 look like in 2024?
I'm going to do some syndicate deals.
Love it.
Yes.
Love it.
I'm going to learn everything I have to learn. Well, not all of it, but at least the beginning steps. And my big goal for 2024 is to do my first investment property. It doesn't have to be the syndicate one. I'll have my first investment property by the end of the first quarter. And by the end of the second quarter, I want to be an acquisition manager on a syndication deal.
Okay.
And I want to put the money that I make from it into a general partnership.
Okay.
That's the deal.
Well, we will definitely talk offline, because we have the team that can help with that.
Perfect. So
That's
I need
awesome.
to get into all the information. There's a wealth of information to get there. And I've slowly started to dive into it. But once I blend, and then for my business that I'm running right now, I want to hit 30 million in residential real estate.
Okay. You can do it. I think you can do 35.
I could do 35. You said
right.
Do it.
I love it. All right. So talk to the person right now. As a final question. Talk to the person right now that is debating on making the cross-country move, or is debating on living the life of their dreams, or starting the business, or leaving the corporate job. What would you say to that person, being somebody that's made a lot of changes in the past decade?
Jump. It's a leap of faith. That is definitely something that I never did. Like I always jumped. Like I didn't think first. Sometimes it wasn't a fun ride to the bottom, but
I did a couple of those.
That's right. But everybody has, and I think it makes you stronger for the next time. So just do it. If you make a mistake, you just make a different decision. Like it, and I always thought I was wrong for jumping. I always thought like, oh, you didn't think about it hard enough. You didn't do the pros and cons. You didn't da. And I hate to keep going back to Chatty, but he's been life changing for me. One of the things that he teaches in Top Listing Agent is that top producers take risks and they make decisions fast. So that made me feel like, all right, well, maybe I'm not impulsive. I'm a top producer. So you have to just make the decision, because being indecisive is just a recipe for disaster.
That's the killer. That's the paralysis that stops people from growth.
Yeah. So I think for that person, if you know what you want, then just go for it. And if you fail, you're not really failing. You're figuring out a different path. Because the one thing that's a fact is you're not happy where you are, because you wouldn't be thinking about doing something else if you were happy. So just do it. And then if it doesn't work out, figure out something else, because anything is going to be better than what you don't like at some point, right?
Yeah, and the worst thing would be the regret that you're going to have when you look back and say that, well, I wish I would have, or I should have. And I think that's the one thing that I really try to stand by, is the fast decisions. And now you'll see that I know you got recently in the Rod Cleese program and the Warrior Group. And the one quote that I actually have on my wall that he talks about all the time is, you're just one decision away from creating the life of your dreams. And all it takes is a decision. And I talk about this all the time to people. You just have to decide and cut the rest off. And you've mentioned decision making multiple times on this podcast. So I think that's a great strategy.
100%. Just do it.
Yeah.
And figure out, if you don't know what you want, but you know what you don't want, that's still a prize.
For sure.
That's half the battle, knowing what you don't want.
For sure. All right, Melissa, let's put a bow on this. So just give everybody one last reminder, markets you serve and how they can get in touch with you.
I am in Central Florida, Melbourne, which is Brevard County. I'm an hour east of Orlando and right by the Space Center. Call me, text me, send me a pigeon, anything you want. 321-831-5085.
All right. Thank you so much, Melissa.
Thank you.
All right. Talk soon.
Have a great day.
Bye.